योगेन चित्तस्य पदेन वाचां मलं शरीरस्य च वैद्यकेन योपाकरोत्तं प्रवरं मुनीनां पतञ्जलिं प्राञ्जलिरानतोऽस्मि। आबाहुपुरुषाकारं शङ्खचक्रासिधारिणं सहस्रशिरशिरसं श्वेतं प्रणमामि पतञ्जलिम्। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। हरिः ओम्। So last time we finished looking at Sutra 2.21, which was Tadartha eva drishyasya atma, which meant, as we saw, that the self or the swarupa, the nature of the self of the drishyam. Okay, the drishyam refers to Prakriti and it evolutes, is for the purpose of the Purusha. And we had quite a bit of discussion around this principle. Now we continue to Sutra 2.22, and before that sutra comes in, Vyasa has a few lines setting the stage for the Sutra 2.22, because the Sutra 2.21, which said Tadartha eva drishyasya atma, when you say that, there are certain implications on the Siddhanta being put forth, on the entities and their relationships, and that implications now need to be addressed, and that is what Vyasa sets out to do and Patanjali does with the sutra. So now before the Sutra 2.22, Vyasa says, Tat Swarupam tu Pararupena Pratilabdhatmakam Bhogapavargarthatayam Bhogapavargarthatayam Krutayam Purushena Na Drishyate iti. So Tat Swarupam means the Swarupa, its own form of Tat here refers to Drishyam. So the Drishya's own Swarupa, how is it? Tat Swarupam tu Pararupena Pratilabdhatmakam, which means it has obtained it by virtue of something else, which in this case is the Purusha. So the Drishya has obtained its Swarupa because of the Purusha, because the Purusha has been established as a purpose of the entire Drishya, and as we have seen, it is by the influence of the Purusha that the Prakriti undergoes the various transformations and evolutions and so on. So Tat Swarupam tu Parurupena Pratilabdhatmakam. Then Bhogapavargarthatayam Krutayam, which means when the Bhoga and Apavarga, which is the twofold purpose, so when that purpose is accomplished, Bhogapavargarthatayam Krutayam, it is something known as the Saptami Vibhakti here, Sati Saptami. So once that purpose is done, once that purpose is accomplished, Purushena na drishyate iti. So at that point, the Purusha, who is the seer, doesn't see the Drishyam anymore, because the Bhogapavargartha is accomplished, and that was the whole, the Bhogapavargartha, Bhoga and Apavarga, which is the purpose of the Drishya. It was Drishyasya Atma, so that lent, or that was the very existence of the Drishya. Now once the Bhoga and Apavarga is accomplished, there is no Drishya to be seen. So Purushena na Drishyate. The Purusha as a seer, here the seer is a special seer because it is a Pratisamvedatmakam, as we had seen. So that particular aspect now no longer stands because the Bhoga and Apavarga has been accomplished. Then what happens? The Swarupahanat asya nashaha praptaha. So there is a condition of Swarupahanihi. Why? Because the Swarupa had emerged because of addressing the purpose of the Purusha is the form of Bhoga and Apavarga. Once that has been addressed, then there is no Swarupa, so there is a Swarupa Hanihi, means the Swarupa is gone. Then Swarupa Hanat, by virtue of that, Asya Nashaha Praptaha. So the Drishya has a Nasha. Nasha means going away. Often it is translated as destroyed. It need not always mean destroy. Nasha means it no longer exists. It has gone away. So Swarupa Hanadasya Nashaha Praptaha. So the Drishya which had come into being to accomplish a certain purpose, now that the purpose has been accomplished, it has no reason to have its existence or being. Therefore, there is a Nasha. It has gone away. Now at the same time, the next line says, Natu Vinashyati. However, we know that the Prakriti, the nature of the Drishya, it never goes away. It is never destroyed. So, Swarupa Hanadasya Nashaha Prapta. So, on one hand, because there is a Swarupa Hani, because the purpose is accomplished, we say Nashaha Prapta. It is, the existence is gone. At the same time, we say Natu Vinashyati. However, it doesn't go away, the existence is not gone. Akasmat asks Vyasa. So, Vyasa is setting the stage for the next sutra, and he is doing that by realizing and acknowledging that the things put forth in the explanation of the previous sutra will naturally bring up certain questions. Because once you say that the Drishya is very Atma, the very Swarupa, the very reason to exist, the very existence is the accomplishing the purpose of the Purusha, Tadarthaha, for the Purusha, then once it is accomplished, that Atma is no longer there, and therefore the Prakriti should go away. So Vyasa realizes and acknowledges, and as part of this text, which does not shy away from getting into details, providing the reasoning, giving it stand clearly, Vyasa straight away brings that question up, where it says, oh, it should get destroyed, but it does not get destroyed, or it should go away, but it does not go away. How come? In answer to that comes Sutra 2.22. The Sutra 2.22 is Kritartham Pratinashtam Api Anashtam Tadanya Sadharanatvat. So, we will see what this means term by term. Kritartham Pratinashtam. Now, what is Kritartham? Which means wherever the purpose has been accomplished. Arthaha Kritaha Yasya Saha. So, once the purpose is accomplished, that is Kritarthaha. The purpose is accomplished. Now, for that particular Purusha, Kritartham Prati, for that particular Purusha, whose purpose has been accomplished, which means the Bhoga, Aparuga, everything has been done. There is nothing more to be done. There is no samskara, there is no vasana, the chitta has obtained its laya, etc. Then, with respect to that Purusha, Kritartham Prati, Nashtam. The Drishya is now Nashta. Nashta means the Nasha has happened, means it has gone away. However, Api Anashtam, it is not Nashta, it still continues to exist. How come? Tadanya Sadharanatvad, because the Drishya or the Prakriti is Sadharana, is common to what? Tadanya. Tadanya means other than the Purusha in question for which the purpose has been accomplished. So, other than the Kritartha Purusha taken into consideration, for everything else, for all the other types, it is Sadharana. The same Drishya exists. It is the same, the Prakriti is common to all Purushas. So, we have seen that earlier. We have always said that in the Sankhya doctrine, there is a multiplicity of Purushas and a single Prakriti. We had also seen some Shruti quotes like Aja, Eka, Shukla, Lohita, Krishna, and so on, referring to the Prakriti as the one unborn. So, here there is a single Prakriti common to all Purushas, and therefore, even though it is Nashtam, it has no reason to exist, the Drishya has gone away, with respect to a Purusha whose purpose has been accomplished, referred to here as the Krutarthaha. With respect to that Purusha, it is the Drishya is Nashta. However, for the others, because the Prakriti is a Sadharanam, common to all, it still exists and it is Anashtam for Tadanya, all the other Purushas, Tadanyaha. So that is the meaning of this sutra.
So Vyasa's enunciation is quite fascinating. He enunciates the sutra by, just as you heard now from Srinit, स्वरूपम तो पररूपेण प्रतिलब्धात्मकं भोग अपवर्गार्थतायां कुतायां पुरुषेण न दृश्यते इति. स्वरूपम तो पररूपेण. That means with the rise of Viveka Khyati. See, otherwise, for instance, the Swa is actually our Chitta, and let us say our Buddhi. Now, in case of intelligence, we claim, I have intelligence. When we claim, I have intelligence, at the same time, we imply, I am intelligent. Now, with regards to other aspects, we don't say that way. We say, I have wealth. But that doesn't imply that I am wealth. Just as it happens in case of intelligence, I have intelligence, but then it implies that I am intelligent. So, I have wealth doesn't imply that I am wealth. I have money doesn't imply that I am money. But with regards to this drusha integral to ourselves, such as intelligence, we imply that when I have intelligence, I say I am intelligent. That means we identify ourselves with the very intelligence. Now, this is how the case of you and me is, that we identify ourselves with our chitta. I have chitta, I have mind, but then it becomes myself. I am mind, myself. I myself itself is a mind. I have intelligence, but I myself become intelligent. So, with regards to this drusha, which is inherently within us, we have this avidya quite pronounced. So that becomes our swarupa. If I have intelligence, that becomes my swarupa. That becomes my intrinsic nature. That becomes my core nature. That becomes as if it is my core. But when yogi goes through his viveka sadhana, there swarupena to pararupena pratilabdhatmakam. He understands this is not me, chitta is not me, buddhi is not me, intelligence is not me, but it is for me. It is for me. So it is attained pararupena. So it becomes different, distinct entity. Like for us, intelligence doesn't become distinct entity. Myself, I project as if I am intelligent. That is why we have this expression, I am intelligent. The fact of the matter is that I have intelligence. You are not intelligent. You possess intelligence. You have intelligence. You are not intelligent yourself, essentially. But then we end up in such an expression. So, when Swarupa is attained by a yogi, he knows that I am Purusha. I am Drashta. And therefore, the whole Prakriti matter is taken as Para, not me, but something else. So when that is attained, that means yogi is accomplished in both the purposes of bhoga and apavarga. And when that is called accomplishment. And when that accomplishment has actualized for a yogi, that he doesn't identify himself with the chitta or the chitta aspects such as manas, buddhi, ahankar, etc. But we identify. You say, I am me. That means we identify ourselves with me, which is mine, which is for me. But whereas yogi is, because of his viveka sadhana, he realizes that it is pararupena. And therefore, when he realizes that it is not me, but it is attached to me, it has been given to me, it has been leased out to me, that means the yogi is accomplished in purpose. So, the both Hoga and Apavarga purposes are served. Now, if they are served, then that was the Atma of the Prakriti. The Bhoga Apavargartha were the soul aspects. Like I told you about figurative expression of something is my soul. So, that is now gone. Because now the Drashta has seen Prakriti distinctly, with a distinction and keeping a distance thereby. And therefore, its soul or soul purpose is lost. Soul purpose means S-O-U-L. That is lost. And therefore, the Prakriti should extinguish. When somebody has lost one's Atma, or somebody who has lost one's heart, the life is almost paralyzed. The life becomes meaningless. So it starts drying out like the leaves of the tree, which dry out and ultimately fall out. So something which is very, very coveted to us, and if we lose that, we almost lose our soul. And when we lose our soul, in course of time, we would be falling off like dry leaves of tree, which fall off. So similar, thus it happens, and therefore the Prakriti, having lost its purpose of the heart, or the S-O-U-L, soul purpose, Prakriti should be gone. Of course, indeed it is gone. But if it is gone, how does it go? What does it mean that when Prakriti is gone, or Prakriti is destroyed, or Prakriti is extinguished? Now, in Satkaryavada, that which is existing will not cease to exist. So, Prakriti having existed for all this time in countless ages, countless eons, because time without beginning, we have been existing. Our chitta has been attached to us from time without beginning. That means it is something existent. If it is existent, it should not be becoming extinct. So whether it becomes extinct or not is being mentioned here. The point is, in Vyasa's statement, it's a wonderful condition that is explained and expressed. That in case of wealth, you say, I am wealthy, but that doesn't mean, we don't imply I am wealth myself. Or I am intelligent, when the case is actually I have intelligence. So it is my possession. I don't become that myself. So I can only have intelligence. I cannot be becoming intelligent. But that is how we identify ourselves with it. While that has our Bhoga Apavarga purpose as a heart of it. So this is a wonderful relationship that we have to understand. We, the temporal, cerebral, empirical I, are having that imposition that it is me. If I have intelligence, I am intelligent. If I have a good mind, if I have a virtuous mind, I am virtuous. If I have a vicious mind, wicked mind, I am vicious and wicked. So much we identify ourselves because of avidya and because of asmita precisely. So we identify because of klesha, because of avidya. And Prakriti has our purpose, Bhoga Apavarga, as its heart, as its soul, S-O-U-L, solar, S-O-U-L-E-R, purpose. Now, if that is accomplished by a yogi, by his Viveka sadhana, yoga sadhana, he distinguishes himself from the drishya, which is so integral to him, which is inherent in him, which is part of his embodiment, which is integral part of his embodiment, the buddhi, the chitta, the intelligence, etc. And therefore, it loses the purpose because it has lost its heart. It has lost its heart. So when we lose our heart somewhere, what happens? We have mechanical existence there. Wherever we have our heart invested, we don't ever have mechanical existence with it. So here it has lost its heart because yogi's purposes are served. Because he looks at it not as Swarupa but Pararupa. We all look at our chitta with Swarupa. It is my chitta, it is my consciousness, it is my psyche, it is my intelligence, it is my mind. And so much so that I become that. That is the Viveka sadhana, where like butter surfaces from buttermilk once churned. When you churn the buttermilk with churning staff, what was one with buttermilk surfaces. And once it surfaces, it is untouched by buttermilk. It floats on buttermilk in a way that it is untouched by buttermilk. So yogi's Viveka sadhana gives that state to him, Navanita-like, butter-like. And therefore, he is now not integral with that matter. Like butter is in the buttermilk, potentially there in buttermilk. It is so one and unified with it that you will not be able to separate unless you churn it. And once you churn it, it surfaces. And once it is surfaced, it doesn't go back again. You again put it in mixer, it will not go back. It will never again get blended. So that is the case of a yogi with Viveka sadhana. Now he sees that it is Pararupena. The butter which was in the buttermilk, now it is not in the buttermilk, it is over the buttermilk. It is separate from buttermilk. It is not only separate but untouched by buttermilk. Similarly, yogi is now untouched by Prakriti, by his Viveka sadhana. And when he is untouched, Prakriti cannot touch him. So no aspect of identity can take place now because it cannot touch. And therefore, Kritartham Pratinashtam. Yogi is now Kritartha, having fulfilled in the purpose of Bhoga Apavarga both. He is called accomplished, Kushala Purusha. So for him, Prakriti is lost. However, Prakriti is not lost by being common to other beings who have yet to fulfill, yet to have fulfillment in their life. So there are others who are not yogis, and for them, they are totally merged into Prakriti. They are totally identified themselves with Prakriti, so they cannot be getting separated from it. There is no churning action taken place. While in case of yogi, his whole Viveka sadhana is a churning act with that. He is like butter, now untouched by Prakriti. And therefore, Nashtam. But then, nothing is destroyed in ecology. It's only transformed. So here also, Prakriti is not totally extinct. It is there by being common to others, other people, other jivas, other selves who are not accomplished. And that's how this sutra comes. The enunciation has something for us to understand our own conditions. So I have chitta, I am not chitta. I have intelligence, I am not intelligent. I have mind, I am not mind. I have consciousness, I am not consciousness myself. So we are still in that identity. This is how we distinguish ourselves from yogi, or yogi distinguishes himself from others. He looks at it pararupena pratilabdhatmakam. Therefore, bhoga, apavarga, both the purposes purusharthas are accomplished. And therefore, Prakriti cannot be showing itself to Purusha now. So there's a lot of deeper purport in the statement, enunciation of Vyasa. So I told you about it. Okay.
Yeah, so just to be clear, so when it says that once the purpose is accomplished, there is no intelligence or no prakriti for the yogi, it is not saying it metaphorically. It is not as though there is no purpose. It is being said in actual fact, as per this Sankhya Yoga system, or as per the Shastras. Essentially, the chitta itself will no longer be there once the bhoga apavarga artha is accomplished, because the bhoga is all a consequence of karmashaya and has the what is known as the vyuthana samskara, on all the worldly samskaras, and the karmashaya which is yet to be accomplished leads to bhoga. Apavarga.
And we identify so much. I have strength, therefore I am strong. I have health, therefore I have health, therefore I am health myself. See, I am strong, I have strength actually. Atma itself doesn't have anything like strength or weakness. But when I am strong, actually fact is I have strength. When I have strength, I identify myself with that predicate. See how in our worldly life we identify ourselves with our predicates, and we don't become ourselves that noun. Whereas yogi with viveka sadhana has altogether different condition that is coming up. So that is what is mentioned in that Vyasa's comment there. Okay.
Yeah, so again, so the idea of this Swarupa going away is not speaking metaphorically, it's literally, in the sense that the chitta itself, which had evolved from the underlying pradhana prakriti, goes back into pradhana prakriti, so that chitta itself does not exist anymore, and the drishyam was buddhyaparuda bhutendriyatmaka gunatraya. So essentially it was the bhuta made up of bhutas and indriyas as cognized by the buddhi. All of that has gone away because the buddhi itself, once the bhoga pavarga is done, it goes into laya, into the pradhana. So therefore the Purusha stands alone, and that is the state that is being referred to here, where the Swarupa, the very form of the chitta or the evolute of the prakriti, is now no longer exists, right? So it is not a certain nature of metaphorical speaking or a certain deeper understanding and so on. Right there in the physical form itself of the chitta, it is said that it will no longer be there with respect to that particular Purusha. But as Sutra 2.22 points out, Kritartham prati nashtam, even though for that particular Purusha it is nashta, so it is gone, api anashtam tadanya sadharanatvat, but still Prakriti itself has not gone away, because it is common to all the Purushas, other than this one, basically all the Purushas that are not yet Kritartha. So now let us look at Vyasa's commentary on 2.22. So he says, Kritartham ekam purusham prati drishyam nashtam api nasham praptam api anashtam tadanya purusha sadharanatvat. So he is clarifying the same thing that is said in the sutra, that says, even though with respect to the Kritartha Purusha, whose bhoga apavarga is accomplished, even though it is nashta, it is gone, still it is anashtam for other Purushas, because the drishya or the prakriti is a common factor for all of them, sadharanatvam. Then he says, kushalam purusham prati nasham praptam api akushalan purushan prati na kritartham iti tesham drishehe कर्म विषयताम् आपन्नं लभते एव पररूपेण आत्मरूपम् इति. So further it is being explained just to bring home the point with more clarity. For the Kushala Purusha, here the term Kushala Purusha is referred to the Purusha whose Bhoga Apavarga Rupa purpose has been accomplished. That is a Kushala Purusha. For that there is Nasha which has been accepted. But for the Akushalan Purushan Prati, for the remaining, all the other Purushas who are not yet Kushala, who are Akushala, Na Kritartham, the purpose is not yet done. Tesham Drishehe, with respect to their seeing, so here seeing is in quotes because we know that we know that Chiti Shakti or the Drashtritvam, etc. Here what this seeing means, it is not the seeing by the eyes or the Indriyas and so on, it is the quote unquote seeing of the Purusha. Now with respect to that Drishi Shakti, Tesham Drishehe, Karma Vishayatam Apannam, means it has, the Prakriti has taken the role of being the object of that seeing. When the Karma Vishayatam Apannam Labate eva Pararupena Atmarupam iti. So it obtains its own form because of the Pararupa, which is the Rupa of the Purusha. So with respect to the other Purushas, the Prakriti will obtain its own form, its own individual Chitta and its own cognitions and its own Indriyas and so on by the virtue of those specific Purushas, because it obtains the role of being the seen object for those seers. Atascha, and therefore, Drigdarshana Shaktyoho Nityatvat Anadihi Sanyogo Vyakhyata iti. So therefore he says, because of the Drikshakti and the Darshana Shakti being Nityam, being eternal, because here the Drik Shakti refers to the underlying seerness, right? The ability of seeing which exists in all the Purushas. So that is the Drik Shakti which is eternal, and the Darshana Shakti which is the ability to be the object of that seeing, which is part of the Prakriti. That is, both are Nityam, and therefore there is a Anadi Sanyoga, and from time without beginning, time without end, there is the Sanyoga which has been explained, says Vyasa. So here once again he is saying that the Drik Shakti and the Darshana Shakti are both eternal and their Sanyoga is therefore explained. Tatha cha uktam. Now Vyasa is quoting from another Acharya. He is saying Dharminam anadi sanyogad dharma matranam api anadihi sanyogaha. So he is saying, now there is this dharmi and dharma. Dharma here refers to an attribute, a characteristic, an attribute. Now the one whose characteristic it is that is the dharmi. Okay, the dharmin or the dharmi. So the entity who has a characteristic is a dharmi, and the characteristic itself is the dharma. So here, dharminam anadi sanyogat. So because the dharmis, the entity is having the dharma, the characteristic, because they have an anadi sanyoga, an eternal conjunction, because of that, dharma matranam api anadihi sanyogaha. The characteristics themselves, the dharma, also has an eternal sanyoga, an eternal conjunction. So here the dharmi refers to the Drik Shakti and the Darshana Shakti, and specifically with respect to the Prakriti, it refers to the gunas, Sattva Rajatama gunas. So the Sattva Rajatama gunas and the Drik Shakti, the Purusha, because they have an eternal relationship, therefore the Dharma Matra, which means the characteristics of the Prakriti in the form of the Chitta, the Bhuta, the Indriya, the Tanmatra and so on, they also have an Anadi Sanyoga, an eternal relationship with the Purusha. So Tatacha Uktam Dharminam Anadi Sanyogat Dharma Matranam api Anadi Sanyoga. So with this ends the Bhashya on this particular sutra. Now what is to be understood here is the purpose of all these explanations is to bring about the nature of the certain entities that are part of the Shastra, the Drishya, the Drashta, the Prakriti, the Purusha, the relationship, and whenever a certain statement is made, what are the ramifications? How can that be explained so as to not bring about any contradiction? So that is what is being done here to bring clarity in the Shastra. So therefore here, once there is a solid understanding of what is the drishya, what is the drashta, what is the nature of the relationship, and how the various things that have been explained here, which was now explained by the Prashant sir in the form of the subjective experience of a yogi, whereas here the explanation is from a sort of a outside view, looking at the drishya and the drashta as entities and how that has been explained in the Shastra. So those two are to be understood together, and the whole purpose of these sutras is to remove any seeming contradictions and bring in clarity on how all of these operate as per the Yoga Shastra. And that is what is being done here.
So, Vyasa tells us about the Kushala Purushas and Akushala Purushas. Kushala Purusha means accomplished, the yogis, exalted yogis. Akushala means the others. The rest, the other people, other drashtas, other purushas, other selves who are not accomplished. And therefore, for us, the Sanyoga can be understood of what nature. It is like butter in buttermilk. Whereas now, for Kushala Purusha like a yogi, how is it? What was inherently there in that substance called buttermilk is churned out. And now it is surfacing. So they are Kushala Purushas. This, the identity drama, which has, it is there from time without beginning. Because the Drak Darshan Shaktyoho Nityatvat, the Drak Shakti and Darshana Shakti. Drak Shakti means the self entity, and Darshana Shakti means the Prakritic entity, the Chitta, Buddhi, etc. Now, their union has been there from time without beginning. And therefore, the Sanyoga conjunction is said to be timeless, anadi. Now, in that case of conjunction, what happens? The Sanyoga is of the nature of Dharmina Anadi Sanyoga, Dharma Matranam api Anadi Sanyoga iti. Dharma means the source Prakriti, which are Sattva Rajatama Gunas. That is characterized in entire matter. The entire phenomenal universe is all characteristics. And the source matter of all that is called the characterized. Like clay is characterized, and a pot or any other shape turned out of it becomes the character. So dharma dharmi concept is to be understood. So the source matter is called dharmi, that is a characterized. And various dharmas come on it, because the clay can take any form, it can become pot, it can take some other shape. So those are all characteristics. So Sattva Rajatama, that's the source condition of the Prakriti. That becomes dharmi. And from that dharmi, all characteristics are coming up to the level of this manifest creation, Panchabhautik creation, rivers and mountains and fires and air and wind and water, etc., etc. They are all dharmas. They are all dharma. And source matter is dharmi. So characterized and characteristics, these two classes need to be understood in pursuit of metaphysics. So he says this sambandha is with a dharmi. We are not associated with the whole phenomenal prakriti. In a microcosm, the Purusha Tattva and the very dharmi, that is characterized aspect in prakriti, they have anadi sanyoga. And therefore, various dharmas will come to surface, and then we will be one with that dharma. Such as today we are in human form, so we have human body. That is a dharma. We can be in a cat's body, and then we'll remain cat. We'll have dog's body, we'll remain dog. We'll have cow's body, we'll become cow. So those are all dharmas. Cat, dog, elephant, man, serpent. These are all dharmas. They are all dharma. And what is dharmi? Is sattva rajatama. What is called as moola prakriti, primordial matter. So in the microcosm, there is conjunction between the primordial matter. It is not conjunction with the chitta as it might be conceived, that Purusha is united with the chitta. No, it is with the very characterized. That is why we can go in different manifestations, say from botanical kind of life to various kinds of lives. Insects to birds to animals to cattle to wild beasts to human beings to gods to infernal beings. So we should know that this conjunction, anadi sanyoga, is with a very dharmi. That means the source matter, source condition, primordial condition, primeval condition of Prakriti. And that's why he brings a quote. Dharminam anadi sanyogat dharmamatranam ati anadi sanyoga iti. Therefore, since our sanyoga with dharmi is anadi, therefore our sanyoga with dharma is also anadi, because they are all characteristics of the dharmi. Prakriti is characterizing in different ways. It has different attributes. And then therefore we also identify ourselves like we identify with our body. It's not that condition that I have body, but for us, avidya infested, we say I am body. I have mind. That's a fact. But then I become myself mind. So that we also start having sanyoga, where that union or identity with all characteristics as well. Although we don't say I am only clay, I am not the clay shape of clay with a form of pot or in a form of something else. We identify ourselves with all clay manifestations. But basically we are identifying ourselves with clay. But because the clay can have so many manifestations, it can take any shape and every shape. We identify ourselves with every shape. That's why we are identifying with ourselves with our human form. I am a human being. So those are all dharmas. So he says we are not actually in union with dharma. We are union with the dharmi. Therefore, as a consequence of that, we are also in union with the dharma, because the dharma doesn't leave dharmi. The characteristic will never leave the characterized. That is the relationship between dharma and dharmi. So he has given that quote. And that is the kind of sanyoga. Now this sanyoga is of what kind? Is being explained in the following sutra. What is this kind of sanyoga that we have? The self having sanyoga with the dharmi, sattva rajatama guna, or the primordial, primeval source prakriti. So what is this kind of it? the sanyoga. What is the kind of sanyoga? Is something that we need to inquire, and it's quite fascinating for us to really know what kind of sanyoga is there. This. So that is the subject matter of the next sutra. Okay.
So I'll just mention a few lines from other texts which nicely summarize what has been said here. So in Tattva Vaisharadi it says, Mata etad bhavati. So this is what happens. Yadyapi ekasya mahataha sanyogo atitatvam apannaha tatapi mahad-antarasya purushanam sanyogo na atita iti nitya uktaha. So essentially it says, even though for one particular mahat, the sanyoga, the conjunction, obtains atitatvam. Atitatvam means it becomes, it obtains the nature of being of the past, which means it is done. The conjunction is over. So the way it is said is, it attains the nature of being of the past. However, mahad antarasya purushanam sanyogo. Now, other than the mahad, this particular, the conjunction with the other purushas has not yet attained the state of being of the past, and therefore it is eternal, because there is an infinity of purushas. There is a single prakriti, and only the kritartha drishyam obtains the nature of being of the past and therefore goes away. But for the rest, that has not yet happened, therefore it continues to exist. And then there is another text which says, Atascha sadharanatvat ekameva pradhanam prithivyaadivat. So for example, the prithvi is sadharanam. For all the organisms, animals, people, etc., there is a single prithvi or a single earth, single mother earth. So similarly, just like it is common to all of us, the pradhanam, the prakriti, is a common factor for all the purushas. Karyakarananam cha bhinnatvat. Now, but why do we say that there are several purushas? Okay, so that is being elaborated slightly. This is another text. This is the Yoga Siddhanta Chandrika. So it says, Karyakarananam cha bhinnatvat, because the karya and the karana, so the instruments and the overall the body and everything else, because they are different. Karyakarananam cha bhinnatva purushanam nanatvam siddham. Therefore, there are multiple purushas, it says. Also, it gives another reason. Sukha dukkha nanatvacha purushabheda siddhihi. Because each entity, each being is experiencing a different set of sukha dukkha, pleasure, pain, and overall a different set of bhoga experiences. That is also why the purusha bheda, the fact that there is a difference in this purusha versus that purusha, is established. Whereas for the prakriti, the analogy is given as like of the earth for all the beings on the earth, where the earth is a common factor for everybody here on the earth. Similarly, the prakriti is a common factor for all the purushas. So I just thought these are nice lines related to this sutra and the explanation. Now, as was said, the nature of the sanyoga is the conjunction, so to speak, will be elaborated in Sutra 2.23. Now, before the Sutra 2.23, Vyasa says, Sanyoga Swarupabhidhityetan. So, this is also nice. Sanyoga Swarupa Abhidhitsaya Idam Sutram Pravartate. The Abhidhitsaya is a nice word. It's what is known as a desiderative form. It says, with the desire to explain. Out of the desire to explain the Swarupa of the Sanyoga, the nature of the conjunction. The next sutra comes, says Vyasa. Sanyoga Swarupa Abhidhitsaya Idam Sutram Pravartate. Pravavrute. So the sutra is Swaswami Shaktyoho Swarupopalabdhi Hetu Sanyoga. So what is this Sanyoga? The Swa Shakti, which refers here, the Swa refers to the Drushya. So the Drushya Shakti. So the Swa Shakti and Swami Shakti. Swami refers to the Purusha. Because we have seen earlier, Swam Bhavati. So the Drushya becomes the Swam or the Dhanam and so on. So here, the Swa-Swami relationship is being brought about. It is as though, like I had said at that time, the Chitta is like a property. It is something that is for the purpose of the Purusha. So it is as though the Purusha owns it. Right? So the Swa and Swami relationship. Swa-Swami Shaktyoho. So the Purusha is the master of the particular Chitta. So Swa-Swami Shaktyoho Swarupopalabdhi Hetuhu. So the Swa or the Chitta has obtained its own particular existence and form. The Swami has obtained, or the Purusha has obtained its particular role as the Swami with respect to that Chitta. So how did this happen? So the Hetu means the cause. The cause of them obtaining this particular form of themselves respectively, that cause is called Sanyogaha. So Swa-Swami Shaktyoho Swarupopalabdhi Hetuhu. So Swarupasya Upalabdhihi Swarupopalabdhihi Swarupopalabdhehe Hetuhu. So the cause of obtaining the Swarupas, the respective Swarupas, the respective form, function and role of the Swa and the Swami, which means of the Drishya and the Drashta, because it is only after the conjunction that the Purusha gets a function or a form or the nature of being a Drashta. Because if there is no Chitta, if there is no Drishya, then he is no longer a Drashta, because when there is no seen, there is no seer. So the Swarupa as a seer and the Swarupa as a seen is obtained. Swarupa Upalabdhihi. Upalabdhi means obtained. The cause which made this to be obtained, that is the Hetu. Swarupopalabdhi Hetu, that is Sanyogaha. So in a nice sutra, it is brought about what is Sanyogaha. And we have to see this in the context of what is the section that we are dealing with. If you remember, the Yoga Shastra, they had drawn a parallel of Yoga Shastra with the science of medicine, where there was Roga Hetu, right? And then there was Hanam and Hanopayaha. So Heya is what is to be gotten rid of, like the disease. And we have already seen for the Yoga Shastra, what is that? What is the Heya? It is Dukkham Anagatam. Heyam Dukkham Anagatam. Then we saw what is the Heya Hetu. So Heya Hetu is what we are seeing now, is the Sanyoga. Drashta Drishyayoho Sanyogaha. So that is the Heya Hetu. And we are going into greater detail of the Heya Hetu because we spent some time with a slight digression, because first we have to understand what is this Drishya and what is this Drashta. So now that we are done, we are back at looking at what is Sanyoga. And then there is Hanam. When the state of, like in the medicine, there is a disease-free state of health. So here the Hanam is Moksha or Kaivalya. So that is the Hanam, and then Hanopayaha, which is in the medicine is the treatment. How do you get rid of the disease and attain health? So that is something we are yet to see. So we are, having seen Heya, we are still looking at Heya Hetu, and there we have to take a digression to understand what is the Drishya, what is the Drashta, and so on. And now we are back on the mainstream and back at Heya Hetu, which is Sanyoga, and we are trying to understand that Sanyoga better. And that Sanyoga here is sort of very clearly or succinctly described as Swa-Swami Shaktyoho, because here he has chosen not to say Drishya Drashta or Purusha Prakriti. There is because the Swa-Swami clearly brings up the relationship in question. So Swa-Swami Shaktyoho Swarupopalabdhihi. How did they get that particular form, nature, function, role? The cause of that, Swarupopalabdhi Hetuhu, that is Sanyogaha. So Swa-Swami Shaktyoho Swarupopalabdhi Hetuhu Sanyogaha is the Sutra 2.23.
So see where we commenced and where we have landed up. Just now Srini told you that the Heya Hetu was Drashtru Drushya Sanyogaha. That was the cause of our sorrow. So it's all started from inquiry of sorrows. And the cause of sorrow was mentioned to be Drashtru Drushya Sanyogaha. And now we are coming where Swaswami Shakti Upalabdhi Hetu Sanyogaha. See, because it can be argued that if the cause of sorrow is the conjunction, why at all in archetypal plan that there was this conjunction? The archetypal mind should have done away with this conjunction so that we would not have had sorrow at all. And that can be a kind of argument that can be placed. That if the conjunction is the cause of sorrow, why at all archetypal mind or the God created the conjunction so that thereby we are suffering? The conjunction is for two purposes. We must opt for right purpose. If you opt for bhoga, then sooner or later we'll realize that the conjunction was not taken in right perspective or was not really pursued properly. But the same conjunction is going to give you the viveka, and that is apavarga. So that's why we were told that bhoga apavarga is the purpose of prakriti. The cause of sanyoga is for therefore two purposes. One is a positive purpose and negative purpose. Now, if you have embraced the negative purpose, you are going to face the untoward consequences. But the same union is also going to give you the apavargarthata. And therefore, the archetypal mind has had two things. Not to be just giving you sorrow is not spiritual samam bonam. Your realization is so important. Self-realization is so important. Not just giving sorrow is not be all and end all in life. Do you just want sorrowlessness in life? That is not be all and end all in life. We want also delights. We also want pleasures. Is that right? We just do not want sorrowlessness day in and day out, day after day, week after week, month after month. No sorrow, no sorrow, no sorrow. The life will be tasteless because we want pleasures and delights as well, and not just sorrowlessness. So the conjunction has two purposes. One is to give you bhoga, and the other one is to give you apavarga. Now, if the conjunction is not at all there, then your sorrows will end, no doubt. But you will also not have that happiness, contentment, bliss, etc. in life. So, one of the mystic poets has mentioned such kind of isolation, where you are totally untouched by sorrow. No sorrow will ever touch you. So that has been beautifully described as Vidava Bhoga in Vaikuntham. Vaikuntham means is the place where is endless kind of bliss. And there, Vidava Bhoga, Vidava means a widow condition. Nobody is going to come to you. No pleasure is going to come to you. Vidva is a condition where no pleasures will come to that person. So, therefore, apavarga is a purpose, meaningful purpose. Because it's not just getting liberated, but because you are going to get the Brahmananda. The quantum of the bliss will be infinite. So it's not just, the liberation is not just freedom from bondage, but then giving you that liberty and the bliss called Brahmananda, which is the bliss quantity in moksha. And therefore the sanyoga has taken place. It is not just to spoil our life. It is because bhoga is not necessarily spoiling our life, because in bhoga we also get sukha. Who says I do not want any sukha, I do not want any delight, or I do not want any pleasure? So bhoga is not dukkha. And the heya is not just dukkha. It is not just sadness and pain, etc., etc. It is very experience of life which includes pleasures. So in bhoga we are also getting delights, happiness, sukha, and also along with it we are also getting dukkha. So we cannot put an argument why archetypal mind ever created the conjunction, because the conjunction has become heya, hetu. Heya, what is avoidable, also includes not only sorrows but also pleasures and delights, worldly pleasures and delights. So you have to understand that word once again, the bhoga properly. What is bhoga? Sukha dukkha moha experience. So we all want to be getting away from dukkha experience and perhaps moha experience, but nobody says I want to get away from sukha experience. That's part of the heyam. Heyam, dukkham is not just dukkham. Dukkham in all classes where pleasure also comes in. So therefore, the conjunction is very positively taking place in the archetypal scheme. And therefore, apavarga is also because of the conjunction. Had there been no conjunction, there would have been no means for liberation. And in yoga, we are seeking for viveka. We are seeking for that wisdom. We are seeking for viveka khyati. Now, that won't be possible if there is no conjunction. So, conjunction should be investment. Conjunction can be an investment which will reap richest dividends. So you can't argue why all this investment took place. So that is being mentioned in this sutra. Swa, Swami, Shakti. And their Swarupa Upalabdhi, to attain their essential state or core condition, for that purpose, the sanyoga has taken place. Therefore, the sanyoga has not taken place with a negative scheme. Archetypal mind cannot be blamed for that sanyoga because it is offering both. Unless you see, because the death is painful for everyone, so nobody says there should be no birth at all. The death is always painful. The separation is always painful. But that cannot mean that life itself should not come into existence. Unless there is life, there won't be death. So if you don't want death, you can't just say, I don't want death, but I want only life. If the life is there, the death is as much a reality. So that's how the sanyoga is of unique nature. So of course we'll be discussing with this nature of union. What kind of sanyoga is this? Swaswami Shaktyogo Swarupalabdhi Hetuhu. The purpose of the conjunction is to be attaining Swa Rupa and Swami Rupa. Who is really Swami? Who is really Swa? That is so important in the wisdom pursuit in spirituality. And that's why the sanyoga is for your spiritual samam bonam. It is not just to create problems to you, but it has become a problem because we have wrongly invested. We are wrongly investing and wrongly invested, and therefore it becomes heya hetu. But there is always a good to other side, a good to the other side of the bad. So we must look at the good at the other side of the bad, and that is, it is giving this final intellection called Viveka Khyati. So sanyoga cannot be blamed. It's a wonderful scheme of the archetypal mind, which we will understand when we go through the sutra. Okay.
Okay. We'll stop here for today. We'll recite the shlokas on Guruji and stop. वैज्ञानिकं प्रवक्तृत्व आसनेषु कलाविदं योगाभ्यासे च तत्त्वज्ञं वन्देऽहं सुन्दरं गुरुं योगवृक्षो हि लोकेऽस्मिन् यत्प्रेरणेन वर्धितः योगाचार्य गुरो तुभ्यं सुन्दराय नमो नमः. Thank you.